If you haven't gone to NTTFGPOD.com, liked, subscribed, and left a comment, then I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I'm Rock.
And I'm Archie. Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
Hey, just tell everyone who's listening, what superlative did you win in your high school senior year yearbook?
1997, I graduated.
Not on, not me, you old bitch.
And I won nicest hair.
If that isn't a motherfucking kick in the dick, I don't know what is. It's pretty funny. Now, it wasn't back hair, right?
Well, that didn't come out yet.
Pretty fucking dope.
Girls used to sit behind me just to play with my hair.
That sounds weird and also creepy.
Girls actually used to sit behind me, play with my hair, and get in trouble. That's how much my hair was appreciated in 97.
So let me ask you a question. What in the motherfuck happened? Where'd it go wrong? That's what I want to know.
I'll be honest.
First time when you're like, oh, fuck. This may be going south.
I had long hair junior and senior year, and it flowed like your sister.
Oh, let's keep it. This is a family show here, you know.
So I had long hair, and what happened after senior year, I cut it. And as soon as I cut it, the universe said, you shouldn't have cut it. Ain't coming back.
The universe said, hey, you know what? You didn't appreciate it? Take this.
So it looked good, short hair, at like 20 years old. 22, it started to go, hey, Arch. Maybe not.
Tough for a couple of years. Marie used to like dye it like fucking maroon and fucking.
Yeah, I used to dye it some colors. So then I started taking Propecia.
The old peach we took.
Propecia was getting very expensive. You know, I was like 21 years old, 22 years old, $60 a month. Like it was getting like expensive.
Let me ask you a question. I heard those like Propecia and Rogaine, you have to take it forever, right?
Correct. And
I also heard it makes your fucking wiener turn into a noodle. Any truth to that?
No. I already had rigatone downstairs.
Hey, Stracciatelli dick.
Hey, is that Perchadel in your pants? Or is... So there's one kid at CVS. This one, like, I don't know, like...
Wait, real quick. Is it true they called you linguini cock?
One time they did. Motherfucker. Fuck! So, this one, like, I don't know, I guess, you know how they study to be a pharmacist or something like that?
Yeah.
This kid was like, it was like a movie. He was like, yo, you want that Propecia? And I was like, yeah, why? What's up? He's like, yo, $20. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't know you could bargain at CVS. he's like, yo, meet me after work, my shift, and I'll sell it to you. So I was getting Propecia by a dealer on the black market.
Freaking black market peach.
for fucking $20. So that went on for about 2-3 months. Until like I was like, yo, bro, you got that peach? He's like, listen, man, I can't do it anymore. I was like, all right, well, there it goes. So
I heard that guy got locked up, and they're like, he was in like the holding cell in jail, and they're like, yo, what are you in here for? Slanging the peach.
Slanging the peach. Can you believe that?
Yeah, but did it work, dude?
I think it did. You want to know what it did? It stopped.
There you go.
It didn't like, I didn't like all of a sudden I wake up and I had like Rocco hair.
Whoa, easy, yo. Don't be jinxing the kid.
Like the fucking Eddie Munster fucking.
Whoa.
But it stopped. It slowed down life's process of embarrassment and yeah.
Now, and everyone says it. Like when you look back when you had hair, they're like, yo, he looked fucking weird with hair. He looks better without.
Yeah. You want to know what? I shaved my head It was funny because the girlfriend I had at the time, I was kind of like, I was buzzing it pretty tight. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to shave. I'm going to straight razor my hair. It's going to be the craziest thing in the world. I walked in. She didn't fucking say a word. Like, I was like, huh? She didn't fucking even notice. That's how short it was.
You were fishing for a compliment.
Yeah.
Listen, you have like the Jason Statham with like a fucking drinking problem look.
You actually got that Jason Statham look after he's done acting in his late 60s. Yeah.
Listen, you pull it off, pal. Just saying.
Thanks, bro. Hey, listen, not everybody. I've seen some people out there with bald heads that looks like a fucking like a deformed peanut.
Yeah, like Christ, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. So I can honestly say I think I have a decent head for a shave for a bald head.
Listen, I always said that you give decent head. Arch, you ready to go, man?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
We have an exciting guest this week.
Damn right we do.
Women's flyweight. Give it up for Brooke the Bully Mayo. Brooke, what's up?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the love. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this podcast.
Thanks for being on. First and foremost, how are you doing during this whole COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic? You know, everyone's on lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, like, it obviously, like, so I came back from competing. Like, I competed at Fight to Win and EBI, like, back to back. And then, like, pretty much right when I got back was when I heard the news. And it was kind of a shock to me because, you know, like, obviously, like everybody else, like, you think you're going to work Monday. You think things are going to be a certain way and like, you know, everything gets flipped upside down. But I've just kind of been adapting. Like, I went and got a job at a grocery store just to kind of keep myself busy. There's not really much to do other than become essential, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I got a little comfort bunny at my house. I already have 2 dogs, but I'm like, oh, get a bunny, you know?
For the people out there, Brooke is holding a very beautiful little bunny named Leo.
Yes, he's like a mini lop-ear bunny. So I had like bunnies growing up, but they were way bigger and like kind of more aggressive. But he's very chill, very docile. So I'm excited with, you know, my little quarantine pet, treat myself because I'm working, you know. So
I think it's awesome that you said that he was an impulse buy. So if you can impulse buy a bunny, it's pretty freaking awesome.
I'm like so bad about that. Like growing up, I would collect pets. Like I had a zoology class in high school and I was like, oh, I just came across some lizards I'm going to bring home. My dad was like, seriously, bring home one more pet. I'm going to throw it in a bag and throw it outside on the freeway. I'm like, that's horrible. Like that. He just got so tired of me bringing home weird animals. Like I brought home like chicks and ducks one time. I brought home lizards. I brought home frogs. Like I'm just like that. So I'm trying to like stop that, but like it's obviously not. I'm not slowing down on the pets.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. So you're out in Northern California, right?
Yeah. So I live in Tracy and then I train in Stockton at Nick Diaz Academy. So I'm still like pretty close to my gym. Our gym obviously is like on lockdown right now. But like I've been doing some like, you know, like in-home training. I like meet up with like a friend here and there and train. Not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but like people have been doing it.
Yeah.
You social distance train. It's okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, Rocky's been social distancing training for about 10 years now.
Yeah,
so.
pretty much. So talk about that. So you train at obviously one of the best schools in the country, Nick Diaz Academy. I mean, that's got to be cool in and of itself. And you know, just the people that roll through there and obviously the Diaz brothers. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, like, I mean, our gym is like definitely a super tough, hardcore gym. And I like the fact that you have like traditional gi jiu-jitsu with some of like the best of the best people. like we have a lot of guys in there that are like, you know, blue or purple belt level that like will whip on other people's brown and black belts. Like, and then they come in, they're like, you can tell the people leave and their minds are just like fucked up because they're like, what just happened? This blue belt just manhandled me and like choked me unconscious type of thing. So, and like we have like a big like variation in like styles and like body types. Like we have some really big guys that are really technical, and we have some guys that are like around my size or smaller that are super technical on the jiu-jitsu side of things. And then MMA wise, it's cool. Like we have a really solid MMA team. And then Nate is a big part of that, especially this last year. He competed, or he fought like a couple times, had a couple of really big fights. So it was really cool, like watching him prepare for that. And our whole team is involved, you know, from start to finish. Like usually training starts at 7 p.m. with jiu-jitsu. We'll end jiu-jitsu about like 10 o'clock at night. And then we start ramping up MMA training from like 10:30, 11 at night till like 1 or 2 in the morning. So it's like our hours are nuts, you know, like most people are like, oh, like, you know, 9 to 5 type of training. But like with us, and it kind of makes more sense to me too, because you fight at night. Usually it's like 8, 9, 10 p.m. depending on where you're on a card. And if there's a time change too, like sometimes you fight all the way across the country. So, you know, you're typically fighting at night. So that's kind of what our hours are like at our gym.
That's actually pretty cool. And that's a good point. I've heard a lot of fighters say that, even as far as like their meals and training, they try to mimic what it's going to be like on fight night. So if they know they're fighting at like 10 o'clock, that's when they're going to train and that's when they're going to do their thing. But that's a good point.
Yeah. And it's really cool. Like, I mean, like we have some people come visit for Nate. Kit Cope, Ernie Reyes came through for a couple months, like for his fight camp. So it was really cool to get to talk to them and work with them as well. And then obviously Rich Perez does Nate's boxing. So he'll come in, and then Crone Gracie will come in, train with us. So like you get to see like a lot of high level people like in and out of the gym. Learn a lot from those guys. So I'm super lucky and fortunate to like get that type of training. And then it's cool too, because like, I mean, the expectation there, even for me, because I'm the only female there, and on the MMA side of things, we have a couple of like high level girls that train jiu-jitsu in the gi, like Rachel Sedelios. She's a younger girl that's coming up. She does fight to win pro matches, but in terms of MMA, like I'm the only female, but they still like keep the expectation for me at the same level as they would the other guys. So I like that and I appreciate that, because I don't get any false sense of security with that. Like, you know, I'll train with my coach. He takes it to me like at 100%, you know, obviously not like trying to like maliciously hurt me, but they're going to push me and like, you know, see where I'm at mentally and physically when it comes to like, you know, MMA. So I appreciate that. And same with Nate. Nate's trained with me a couple times, which is cool, and giving me like a lot of MMA rounds. I'm super fortunate to like ever have that experience. It's like a once in a lifetime thing.
Would you think that this type of training helped you out in life in general, in any aspect of life?
Yeah, for sure. Like definitely. Like I feel like even like just training jiu-jitsu in general, like really makes you a better person. Like it just helps you like deal with adversity and like just like in like the mental aspect of just life, like so much easier. Like because you're faced with challenges and problems every time you step on the mat, you know, and it's always different problems. Like, okay, like one day I'm with a 300-pound training partner. I'm like, oh, how am I going to deal with his strength? Next day, like a small, fast person, I'm like, damn, I can't keep up with their speed or their flexibility. So I feel like that you can apply that to life a lot of ways. And like, even with this pandemic that's going on, like, I feel like I was presented with a problem, which was like, you know, no work. And a lot of people are too proud to go and to be like, okay, I'm going to work a grocery store job. Like, obviously it's not like my first choice of work, but at the same time, it's like, I approach that with like a good attitude. Cause I'm like, all right, like it's a job, you know, I like the people I work with. I get to interact with people every day. I'm not stuck at home, super isolated. Yeah. Like, you know, like I'm not making what I'd want to make or like using my like degree that I have. But at the same time, like there's a lot of pros. There's a lot of like great takeaways from like getting the experience of working at a grocery store, you know? I
respect that. Truthfully, then I think it's very humbling. And I think I respect it because, you know, like, God forbid, I always say to my wife that God forbid if shit hits the fan, I got to go work. I got to earn somewhere. So I'll do it.
Yeah. And like,
you gotta take care of shit.
Yeah, like, and you just gotta like do it and like just make things happen any way possible. And like maybe it's not like your first choice, second or third choice, but like even when I first found out like there wasn't gonna be work and I didn't know like what I was gonna do, like I mean, I even got a little bit thrifty and was like, all right, I'm gonna sell some of my memorabilia, you know, because I'm not like super attached to like medals and like things, you know, like that. Like I'm like, okay, I have the memory, like I did it was cool. So I like signed like, you know, some of my gloves and some of my, you know, I had a little camo belt that I signed, you know, so I, you know, just kind of like made the best of the situation. It helped me like connect with people that I hadn't connected with in a while. And like, it helped me make like new friends and fans, you know, like expanded my fan base a little bit more. So I really, you know, just like taking each like problem and each challenge and just kind of adapting. I feel like that's what jiu-jitsu and like MMA and fighting has helped me with. It's like a, you know, you kind of develop more of like a no quit like mentality. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's take it. So we're at the present now at the Nick Diaz Academy. Let's take it from the beginning. How did you, you know, talk about your upbringing and how you got into fighting in the first place? I
was actually like a soccer player. Like I was playing soccer since I was 5. I never did any martial arts growing up. It was always like traditional American sports. My whole entire family, same thing. Like no one's fought, no one wrestled, no one did karate. Like we all just like, you know, I played soccer, my brothers played football, and you know, that's what we always did. And then when I got injured in college and I just couldn't really continue playing, I had like a rare injury to my calves, which is pretty odd. So doctors didn't have an answer for me. They're like, you can't really play soccer. So, you know, good luck. You can't figure this out. I was like, okay.
All right, thanks.
But I didn't really like I still had like competitive drive and I still wanted to like, you know, be an athlete. So I was buying a bike one day and somebody was like, hey, I think you'd like jiu-jitsu. You should go try it. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what that means, but cool. Like, I mean, I watched fighting growing up with my dad. I watched boxing and MMA. So I was like, all right, like I knew the grappling aspect of MMA was important. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. So I went to Half Gracie in Dublin. In the Bay Area, and he was my first day coach, and I was like, who is this dude? Like I had no idea. Like I kind of knew, but I like didn't know like on that level. So he was like my first day coach and like coached me for the first like I want to say like couple years, first year or two of my jiu-jitsu career. And then I immediately was like, you know, first 6 months training jiu-jitsu, I was like, I want to fight. And he was like, that's not how that works. Like, he was like, trained 6 months of jiu-jitsu and fight. And I was like, well, why not? Like I had gotten into street fights, so I was like, I think I can fight. It's not a big deal. And so I ended up like breaking my arm. Some 300-pound purple belt like arm dragged me and spiral broke my ulna. Yeah. So that prolonged my jiu-jitsu competition because I was actually signed up for a tournament. So when I healed up and came back from that, I got offered like an amateur MMA fight against some like local chick, you know, in different city. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I went into that fight like with pretty much like just healed broken forearm and like no stand-up training at all, and didn't see a problem with it at the time because I didn't have enough knowledge to see a problem with that. And I had friends in my corner like that like couldn't wrap my hands, like all this shit. It was like a shit show. But I ended up TKOing her in the second round. Like I TKO'd her in the second round. My friends were just like, stand and bang, stand and throw down. Like they're like telling me not to go to the ground up there. They're like, we know you like jiu-jitsu, don't do it. I was like, all right. So I got it, like ended up like reversing her takedown and TKOing her. And then from there, I was like, all right, I'm addicted. Yeah. To this whole thing. So from there, like I tried training. I had a striking coach in the Bay Area. Bay Area got a little crazy. Like it's expensive to live in the Bay Area. So I was like, you know, I need to like get some more training partners after my Vita Ortega fight. So I went to Team Alpha Male, and I think it was cool, but I feel like I liked the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and I really had missed that. And I wanted to stick with competing in jiu-jitsu and the gi at a high level too. So then I moved my training over to Stockton. And then since I feel like I said, I get the best of both worlds. And I feel like the gym is a perfect size, you know, because there's great things about bigger gyms, but I feel like for my personality and for who I am, I prefer a little bit smaller of a gym and close-knit environment.
So like Team Alpha Male, that's obviously a big gym. It's more like you want to say like a factory, right? You know what I mean? And like, obviously when you were there dealing with like Uriah Faber, stuff like that. I mean, it's got to be, a ton of members there, right?
Yeah. And like, I liked the members. I liked Uriah. I liked all the, everybody on the team was heck cool. It was just more of the fact that like, it was just such a big gym. Like there's 40 guys on the mat. We're all trying to spar. Like, and for what I need, I feel like as somebody who learns in a certain type of way and where I'm at in my career, I was like, I'm not getting the most out of my training right now, but there's a lot of people that succeed and excel in that environment, I just think for me too, like where my base is like was gi jiu-jitsu and with Half, like, and I feel like Caesar and Half, they were together and created their own gyms in the beginning. They're connected in that way. So I feel like the philosophy is the same. So to me, it was like, okay, this feels more like home to me than a gym with like more of a wrestling background. So I still liked it. I learned a lot from them. They were really cool. Like I was like, hey, it's just not the right fit for me. And they're like, oh, come back whenever, like we're still cool. So I really appreciated them like taking me in like that and helping me out for the couple months I was there. I think they understood, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't right for me. And I think a lot of fighters, like when they're coming up in the sport, they're like, oh, well, it worked for so-and-so, it's going to work for me. And I'm like, well, it's not a one size fits all thing. And I think, like everybody has a fight style. So I feel like people need to look at themselves and like be like more conscientious and mindful about and self-aware of what they need versus like, I think for me, I was like, oh, I just need training partners. I don't have training partners. And these are all these guys that are my size, but I didn't think about like, okay, how much individual time am I going to get? How much coaching am I going to get when there are, 20 people fighting a weekend and all this stuff going on. So I think it's just like a learning process for me. It's kind of like what I learned in like college sports too. Okay, this school is right for so-and-so, but this school wasn't right for me scholarship wise or, whatnot. Yeah. So I think it's like good to just like think about that. And also like a lot of fighters have mentors like dads or, coaches or people that they've been with for a long time that can help kind of like guide them through that. And for me, I've kind of done a lot of this stuff through trial and error, like fighting, with no striking coach or, like taking like even like my pro debut, it's like, that girl had, and Vita's like a great fighter, but was at the right time for that fight. Like, who knows? Most coaches probably would have been like, hey, you need a couple of, undercard fights before you fight on the main card type of thing. So yeah. I don't regret any decisions, but at the same time, it's like I said, trial and error and like, learning as I go in the sport, being new to it.
So you would say you're really not a risk taker too much, huh?
I'm not impulsive, but I'm not a risk taker at all.
I'll tell you what, watching that fight, you were winning that fight. And I think that was a suspect stoppage there.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's weird because I look at it too. And I mean, at the same time, like, this is something I've never said before. Like, I went into that fight with a very large injury to where I had surgery for that said injury later. Most people don't know about that. And like, I think just even that in itself, like, I could have easily been like, hey, like, I can't fight, but my crazy ass was like, oh, I can, fight somebody with 75% of my limbs and still win type of thing. Yeah. So that's a learning experience in itself too, is because it's like, I feel like Nate's the same way. A lot of us are the same way. It's like, we're not going to like quit or say no or pull out unless it's like, we are like 99% of the way there. I
was going to say, like, your mindset sounds like that, the Nick Diaz Academy is probably the best place for you to be at. That's the mindset.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like I have the same, mentality, mindset. I definitely feel like, that's where I feel comfortable there. I mean, it took a lot to like earn it in a sense with them to be like considered like on the team, too. But I think that like it was definitely like worth it to me to like go through all the stuff I went through. I really enjoy like being there, fighting with them and fighting for them. So I'm excited probably I'm excited for like whatever comes next. I really want it to be MMA next, but it's been challenging, getting a fight contract signed. And it's also, I think I'm going to be moving up. Well, I know I'm going to be moving up in weight. So I'm not going to be fighting at 125 anymore. I'm going to be fighting at probably 135 or maybe even 145. Who knows? I don't really think 145 is my weight class, but I definitely know that like moving up is the right choice. And that's going to give me like a whole nother edge over a competition. Because I think a lot of the tough weight cuts like that wears you down. And I think it slows you down in fights too.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see like what I can do at like a better, weight for me.
Archie and I were brought up well with manners, and they said never ask a woman her weight. But I feel like this is the right forum. I mean, are you cutting a decent amount to get to 125?
Yeah, I used to walk around like 140, 145. And then over like the last couple of years, I got up to like 150, 155. So I've never broken 155 really. Like I've never gotten above 155 is really the heaviest I'll get to. Right now I'm like 150, but it's like I'm kind of an in-between fighter. Like I could, realistically like 130 is like my perfect weight.
Sure.
But like there's no weight class there. 125, after I did a couple body scans and they did my body fat and like my bone mass and all that, all those analytics, and they're like, dude, 25, like you just have too much muscle mass and like your body fat's not even that high. I think that at my heaviest, they got me at like 13% body fat, and that's me like I wasn't training for a couple weeks and just chilling, like resting.
Yeah.
So like you're really lean and like for a woman. So if you try to go down to 125, your performance is going to suffer, which I kind of saw that a few times. Like I did EBI at 125 day of weigh-in. So like after that 10-minute mark hits, I'm just like, you could see a serious decline in my energy level. So I just think that like 135, I'll be a lot more like, explosive, a lot healthier and just like a lot stronger there. I'm excited. Like I just, I really want to get back to it after like all this is said and done, but it looks like, it might be a lot longer than I planned. I'm trying to just be patient. It's hard to be patient though. Like when you're just like, everybody's probably like the same right now, itching to just do anything.
Yep. All occupations everywhere.
Yeah.
We this podcast covers music, comedians, all that types of stuff, and athletes, and the bands out there that just got picked up by a record company and then they can't fucking tour. Like, and that's just music. What about everything else?
Yeah.
Everybody's itching.
Well, it's sad, like I feel bad for people. Like I'm very empathetic. So I feel for people who just started a business or who just got like, their degree or, you know what I mean? Like they went through all this and like, oh, light at the end of the tunnel. Dope. 20, like everybody I was hosting like January 2020 is my year. And now it's like all the memes where it's like, just kidding, But I mean, like you're going to, I feel like you can definitely see who people really are, you know what I mean, during these times, because there's some people that are like, screw it, I'm not going to let this keep me down. There's some people that are like, dude, really breaking down and like getting depressed. But this time in itself, like kind of gave me an opportunity to reevaluate what I was doing, like how I was eating, like how I needed to like take I'd never taken supplements, but like I've been like taking like natural supplements right now for mood and for like different things like energy, like stuff that I was like, oh, that's not that important. I'm like, you know what, being stuck inside, like not getting like the sunlight and like, the workouts I need, maybe I need to like boost myself in different ways. So like it's definitely helped me, like get a better sense of what I really needed, because everything slowed down so much. I could take the time to really think about it. By
the way, after this podcast, let Rocky know what supplements you're taking for mood.
Yeah, I need to take those too, I think.
I mean, like, honestly, I was like, why am I so bummed? I was like taking St. John's wort. Like, it's like a very like base. Like, I didn't know anything about it, but I started taking it. I'm like, dang, like, I can just tell, and maybe it's a placebo, but I really do. Like, I'll eat my breakfast in the morning. I'll just take one, and then I'm like, okay, like feeling positive, and then feeling happy,
feeling good.
And then for stress, like, if certain things are stressing people out, I take these Good Day Calm chocolates. I love them. Like, nice. I'm not sponsored by any of these people or things, but like seriously amazing. Or if you can't sleep, the melatonin sleep chocolates, it's like you just eat your little dessert and you just like pass the hell out. Like sleep so soundly. Like really? If you have sleep problems, it's great. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So, you know, it's trying to stay away from the alcohol because, like, right now, alcohol sales, I work at the store and, like, alcohol sales are, like, boosted. But I'm like, it's cool to drink.
We don't
like,
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know if you can't see mine, but it's right here.
Well, it's like drinking. Like, I drink, my whole family drinks, you know. I noticed, like, I was like, okay, there's nothing to do. I'm going to get drunk today.
Yeah.
But then I was like, damn, I'm hella tired when I wake up because I wasn't, like, getting that proper sleep. So I'm like, you know, I'll have, like, my drink or whatever, or my wine or whatever I like to drink, but then I'll have the melatonin chocolates, and I'm like, ooh, that's like
See ya.
the cherry on top of the
Sleepy.
Melatonin chocolate.
I'll meet my good day chocolates, my good night chocolates, my happy pill.
I want to give that to some of my bosses that I work with. Here's a fucking good day chocolate.
Be like, I think you need this.
Yeah.
Little dessert for you, a little snacky snack.
Let's back it up for a second. So you had a great amateur career. Your pro debut was in Bellator, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your mindset going in there? I mean, you're fighting for one of the major promotions in the world. It's your pro debut. You know, it's Bellator. Like, what's going through your mind? You know, the build up to that. You know, backstage.
Like, so, like, it was weird because the week of the fight, like, I felt really confident. I was like, dude, I can submit her. All this stuff, despite the injury I sustained, which, like, I feel like that should have been like, okay, dude, what the hell? But I was like, you know, I can still beat her. You know, I feel like I can submit her. All this stuff. So I felt pretty confident. I felt good. Like, I liked Bellator. I liked how they promoted things. It was really cool, you know, having that level of, like, professionalism with the promoters and, like, all the people that worked for Bellator. I really liked the whole thing. And then I was getting interviewed and they're like, oh, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I was like, no, like, I'm not really nervous. You know, I didn't feel those nerves yet. Even like the day of the fight, I was like, you know, I was still feeling like pretty confident. And then they're like, okay, you're going on after Josh Koscheck and his opponent. I forgot who he fought that night. And I was like, okay, like, and then I start walking down the hall and I'm like, okay, like, you know, normal nerves are kicking in. And then I get out there and it's the SAP Center filled with thousands of people. And it's not hearing the screaming, it's feeling it. I'm like, oh my God, my whole body is like, you know, shaking from the screaming. And like, anytime she hit me or I hit her or anything happened, it was like, you know, like, so just that feeling alone, like, that's when my anxiety and like my nerves went like boom, like shot up, because, you know, the most people I had got fought in front of would probably, I would say before that happened, would probably have been like 1,000 people max, maybe. Sure. That's being generous. Mm-hmm. But during that fight, I was like, dang, like, this is crazy. So like right when I started walking out there, I was like, okay, holy crap. Like, so you can see like I'm jittery, like, you know, when the first round happens, but I still feel like, you know, like I feel like that was good for me in itself, like getting that experience. Like most guys who are pros, they still are fighting in front of, you know, a couple hundred people here, a couple hundred people there, you know, maybe 1,000 people. So I'm kind of glad that I got that out of the way, because now I know what, like, you know, the max amount of people, or not, I mean, that's not the most people anybody's fought in front of, but like, it was good to kind of just get thrown in the deep end and be like, all right, like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm getting at. I mean, to get your pro debut in one of the biggest companies in the world on the main stage, a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people, like you said, are still fighting at, you know, regional shows and that kind of stuff for their pro debut. So I mean, that's got to be unnerving in and of itself. So
yeah, I mean, like, a part of me is like, I like that happened, and another part of me is like sometimes I feel like it works against me in a way, because now when I try to fight or when I try to get a fight signed or whatever, I'll think I'm like 90% of the way to closing a deal. And then people are like, yeah, like, okay, like, so, you know, what's your name? What's this? I give them all the info, and then I don't hear from them for like a week. And I'm like, all right, that's not good. And then I don't hear back. They're like, oh, she has personal issues or she can't make it. Cause I'm like, all right, like, that kind of was a bummer. And then it's like, you know, I had so many amateur fights. Like, I had 14 amateur fights. So you look at my pro record, you're like, oh, I want to fight this girl, you know? But then you really start to do the research and you're like, well, fuck, I don't really think I do want to fight. You know, there's not a whole lot of side to fighting me right now. So part of me is like, I've tried to go to kickboxing even to fight. And that was something that like was discussed right before this whole thing happened, was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to do kickboxing or whatever. I did little like combat jujitsu matches. That was kind of fun. Like the last one I did, like I got some of that striking like out of my system. But yeah, like I definitely like miss like MMA. So hopefully, like I said, maybe me moving up weight classes will open up doors, or going like elsewhere first, they'll open up some doors hopefully soon, once this whole like pandemic shelter in place thing is over.
Could you talk a little bit about what goes into getting a contract? How do you even go about it?
With just like
managers,
like
everything, just it's a whole soup to nuts. Like, all right, I want to fight so and so. How does that happen?
I honestly, I don't know anymore, because I'm still consider myself really new to the sport.
Okay.
I just like go on to like
you have a manager or somebody that.
I have a manager, but like I don't know what it is. Like I'm only getting offered bare knuckle boxing fights, to be honest. And like my coach at Nick Diaz Academy is like, you know, like you're an MMA fighter. Let's be real. Like I don't have, at this time right now, I don't have medical insurance. So me doing a bare knuckle boxing fight and breaking my hand or breaking my face might not be the formula for success for an MMA career. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
As much as I love to fight.
She doesn't take any chances.
Yeah, she doesn't take any chances.
I mean, like, it seemed cool to me, like in theory, because I'm crazy and I just want to say yes to everything. But like, that's why I have a good coach, Randy Spence, like above me, who's like, hey, let's really think about what you're talking about right now. Do you want to do MMA, or do you want to be out for a year and a half because you had to get a couple of surgeries or what?
Yeah,
you know, because especially in that, like it's a new sport too. So like nothing's really guaranteed. So he's like, you know, what do you want more? Like, what's most important to you? Let's kind of figure this out. So that's when we're like, okay, MMA. He's like, kickboxing, like secondary if you really want to. And then jiu-jitsu is always there to compete in. I was like, all right. So my manager's been offering me mainly bare knuckle boxing fights, but I'm like, hey, like, let's get an MMA fight. What goes into like getting an MMA fight is really just, I go to these forums and I'm like, hey, I'm a 135-pound fighter. This is my record. This is my amateur record. I mean, making sure I put that in there too.
Yeah.
So that there's no confusion and then people know what's really up. Mm-hmm. And I'm down to fight. I'll even, you know, pay for my travel here if that's really what it takes to get me a fight. Because sometimes like the shows, like it depends on where it's at. Sometimes they don't pay for your travel. So you have to kind of figure that out on your own. And then you have to get the other girl to agree. And now, not trying to be rude, but a lot of girls are dating their coaches, or, you know, like that's their fiance, husband, whatever. Like that's their head coach. So when the decision's going, you know, when you're trying to go in and pick a fight for somebody that you're dating and, you know, with, I feel like that plays a big factor in who you're going to accept as an opponent. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I got you.
Stylistically.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the times, like I've been told no. I got offered Amanda Bobby Cooper as an opponent. And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. Like, I'll just say yes all day. And then they'll come back at me and be like, oh, well, her manager had a problem with your record. I'm like, well, he didn't have a problem with the 1-7 person that she fought. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's like, because you can go look at people's records of who they fought. And I'm like, what's the difference between me and a, you know, 2-6 fighter or a 3-5 fighter? You know what I mean? So that's where I'm kind of like, I don't get why that happens, but I'm 0-2, but like they can see like I've done a lot in the grappling world. I've done a lot as an amateur. I'm not really an unimpressive fighter. And then I also have like somewhat of a following. So it does help the promotion a little bit, but I have people saying, oh, my coach has a problem, or my manager, oh, I pulled out due to personal issues. Like I've heard a lot of different things. So I don't know. I think the game is changing now because of social media. So I think a lot of people, like, they want to fight, but they want to look good first and foremost. So if there's any chance of maybe for a split second not looking good, then that's where things get kind of tricky.
Gotcha.
For me, like, I just want to fight. Like, I don't care if I look perfect. Like, when I got into this sport, I wasn't like, I'm going to beat Ronda Rousey and have a perfect record and be world champion. Like, I just like fighting. Like, I just like it. Like, whether my record is, 20-0 or my record's 0-20, it doesn't really matter. And I think I put on exciting fights for people. So I think people like seeing that, like, raw realness.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like thing that's going like extinct. So I just want to get back in there. And I've even told promotions, like, I'll fight at 150. That's my walk around. I'll fight a dude. Like I fight dudes in the gym anyways for free. So like whatever, like you can call it an exhibition, whatever the commission wants to call it.
There's a lot of sleepy chocolates fighting at 150.
The sleepy chocolate chocolate.
So talk about one of my favorite clips to see is in that jiu-jitsu competition you were in, the ass slap.
I'm sure you got asked this a million times, but
we're hacks.
Yeah.
So the real story, like the girl who I was doing that to, like Alimale McFarland, she was the one that said in the promos leading up, she was like, "I'm gonna spank your ass." That was her trash talk, and I was like, "That's weird." Like, I'm gonna knock you out. Like, okay. Like I seriously thought it was super weird. I was like, "Okay, like you're gonna spank me."
I'm gonna cook you muffins. I'm gonna cook you muffins.
Yeah, I was like, that's a weird thing to say. I was like, I'll probably knock you out of the palm strike or fuck you up. I don't know. I was just like talking. I was like getting more violent. She was trying to play the whole like sex appeal card, I think.
Gotcha.
For dudes.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, weirdo. And then like I get in there. And then I end up doing it because what she was doing was she was trying to do a toe hold and break my foot. But just so her head is facing my feet and my legs, and then her ass is just like right there. So I had remembered, she had said it over and over again. She even said in the rules meeting like a couple hours before that, like, "Oh, do we get a bonus if we play the booty bongo contest?" She said something weird like that in the rules meeting. I was like, what the fuck? So that plays in my head. I'm a competitive person. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use your own shit against you. So like I just started slapping her ass like hella hard.
I love it.
She actually let go of my foot. Like she actually had like submission attempt, and she ended up letting go because like I kept doing it, and like people kept screaming like louder and louder and going like more and more crazy. And like it just became this crazy viral thing. And then World Star Hip Hop shared it, like a bunch of people shared it. I was like, that's so funny. It became a meme after. Yeah. Like, so it was like really funny because it wasn't my idea at all. But I literally just stole the idea and just made it like a thing. It's like, and then I would share it, and like, you know, she didn't really like the fact that I kept sharing it, but I was like, I'm promoting myself. Sorry. Like,
of course. Fuck yeah.
Listen, I mean, that's good promotion. I mean, she's she's still the Bellator flyweight champion, right?
Yeah. And like the whole thing with that, like the whole premise with that was, I was like, you know, like because I lost to her in overtime, which is you get put in a submission and then you like have a certain amount of time to submit each other.
Sure.
And at that time, I still had the same injury that I had from the Vita fight, which I was stubborn and didn't get fixed until 2 years later when the person was like, "Bro, like, this is really fucked up. How did you not do anything about this for 2 years?" And I was like, "Stem cells?" He's like, "That's not an option. Like, we have to fix it.
Oh, God.
So I was like, "Let's just do some rehab and stem cells." He's like, "That's not how this works. Like, I have to put this shit back together. In that match, I still had that issue. So I said to her, I was like, "You know, come on, dude." I was like, "In an MMA fight, there's no overtime. We all know what's up, you know?" And she didn't like that comment. And it wasn't like, I mean, that's what I thought MMA fighters did in general. I thought we just talk like that. So but after that, it was like, I don't fuck with you anymore. I'm not even going to acknowledge that match even happened. Fuck you. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, sounds good. But on the dude side of things, I feel like when a guy talks shit to another dude, he's like, "What's up? Bring it. Like, let's fight." Like, if I was, you know, like any girl that's going to talk shit to me, I'll be like, "Thank you. Let's get paid. Like, let's fight."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know?
For real.
I thought I think it's business. I don't think it's personal, but I think that line gets blurred a lot of the times. So
I feel like 70% of all this smack talk, it's like when they're in the locker room at some event or whatever, they're just, "That was a good fight, right, man? That was a good time." Like it's just not real. It's a little WWE somewhere. There's a blurred line.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it is like, but sometimes it is pretty real. But I think some people like they want to do it on their terms. Like they want to be like she even said before the EBI match, like, "Oh, let's hype this up on this podcast." I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like I was cool with her. I'm always respectful of my opponents. But then afterwards, I was like, you want to hype it up at that point for you. Now I want to hype it up for me. Like I want to fight, you know. And I think stylistically, that's a good match for me. So I was like, what's up then? Like there's no overtime in MMA. And that comment just like, I don't know, like just completely like turned things sour. So I was like, all right, I mean, like I said, I think it's business. Like, I think, you're supposed to promote yourself, and saying that, it was like, I don't talk about people's families. I don't talk about how people look. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going like for low blows. I'm just saying like, hey, like stylistically, I think I would kick you in the face. And I think on the ground, I can handle you. You know? Like, that's just like, and if anybody, I mean, I feel like every fighter should think that way. Like, unless, like, you're not really a fighter if you're not thinking that way about other opponents or other people. And I don't take it personally when people talk shit to me, because that's just been happening to me all as an amateur. Like, I was brought in every fight to lose, like every fight. So I was kind of like, I just got used to it.
I could only fucking imagine being at a bar and some girl looking at you going, "You spilled my drink, bitch."
That happened a lot.
I would sit there and go, "Whoa, watch what's gonna happen. Watch what's gonna happen."
That's what my friends do to me. Like, there'll be even guys, like, one time I was at a restaurant with my friend Chris Diaz, and like, we're just sitting there, and this dude starts screaming at his wife and his kid. And I was just like, I'm like, I hate that shit, So I'm sitting there, I'm like, hate it. And like, he starts speaking to him in Spanish, like, "Yo, bro, quiet down. Like, this is a place, this is a restaurant. This ain't your house." And he just kind of gets like aggressive with him. And I'm like, "Dang, Chris." I was like, "What were you going to do?" He's like, "I wasn't going to do anything." He's like, "I knew you would handle it." So I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "You're pit bull." Yeah. I'm like, "You're Lenny."
Yes.
I'm going to go over there and like strangle him or something. So people do that. Like, people like, or girls will try to just get ghetto with me. Like, I'll be sitting there like smiling, have my Jack or Jameson or whatever I'm drinking. I'm happy as fuck. And these girls will just come over and like try to punk me. And I'm like, no. So like, I used to fight at the bar and get into trouble, but I try not to do that anymore. I can't do that anymore because, I'll lose the right to fight.
If I were you, I would go, "I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Google me. And if you're okay with it, come on back."
We just have contracts on hand. Be like, Jim waivers.
This is my name. I'm floating at about $1.32. Google me. And if you're okay with it, let's go.
It's so funny. Like, yeah, like a lot of people like are down though. Like, it's funny, like especially dudes. Like, dudes always want to test it out. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, in theory, it's all like, oh, I get to grapple with a girl. It's like, oh, it's gonna be like sexual and fun.
Sure.
And it's like, bro, and then pretty soon you just are like, what happened? You're like staring at the ceiling in a bright light. You're like, oh my dude, you should pass the fuck out.
Next thing you know, somebody's asking for your fucking insurance.
Yes.
It's amazing. I saw an interview with Chuck Liddell like maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. He was talking about how like when he goes out, he's got a huge fan base, but he said every time he goes out, there's like 1 or 2 people that try to fucking start a fight with him. It's like
it's pathetic.
Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you trying to prove? Trying to fight somebody who like did it or does it professionally? Like, it makes no sense to me.
Because it's like a trophy for them. It's like basically they're like, oh, if I beat him, then I'm better than him type of thing. You know what I mean? Or like BJ Penn, like that, like he like, got knocked out in a bar fight, or he just got hit with like a crazy like looping punch, got dropped, and that got shared all over the internet. And I felt, dude, that made me hella sad. But I'm just like, a lot of people look at that challenge and they're like, well, I'm supposed to lose, but if I win, then I'm better. People, one time we were at a bar with Nate and some guys tried to like plot on Nate, and we heard him talking about it. We just like looked at them. We're like, the fuck? Like, they're like, yeah, dude, like, what if we fought Nate right now? And we're like listening to what the fuck he's saying. And we're just, and then so then Nate was funny as fuck. He just goes and like stands over him, like kind of like leering over them, like, hey, what's up? And they got so fucking scared. But like, I was like, you guys are so stupid. Like, we all could hear you guys trying to plot on us, like trying to like, do some shit. And Nate just comes up and was like, got hella close to him and kind of like stood over him, like, what are you saying? Like, what? Like, I'm like, oh my fucking God. And we were like cracking up. They're like, well, I'm like, where'd those guys go? They left. I'm like, of course they did. But people are shady.
What is your dream fight? What would be your perfect dream fight?
Dream fight.
Who would it be? So who would it,
that's a good question. Like dream fight in terms of like most exciting fight, or like a fight that I would just like smoke the like what do you mean like by dream?
I would take it as this would be my chance for maybe a title I'm going to be doing it in front of my hometown in Sacramento or wherever we would fight, and something to that extent. Who would you want to fight?
I mean, honestly, I just want to fight the best person in my weight class. Like, I would want to fight Amanda Nunes, as crazy as that sounds. Like, I would just want to be like, all right, like, ready or not, I really want to see where I'm at against that level of competition. Because it was funny, like, I was talking to my mom, like, Mom, I think I'm going to go up to 135. She's like, you're going to go up to 135? That's where Amanda Nunes fights. And I was like, yeah, Mom, like, she's the champ. She's been fighting, she's been fighting for, like, I don't know, however long, like, 3 times as long as I've been training or fighting, I was like, but it'd be dope. It'd be dope to fight her. I have like a ton of respect for her. I think that fight against Cyborg was awesome. I love Chris Cyborg a lot, but I thought it was really cool, like watching Amanda Nunes do what she did against her, like no one's been able to freaking do that. And she had, the best, she has a good fight IQ and she's all around solid. So I'd like to fight her when and if the time ever came. Like that's like, I feel like the best, like that's the biggest test, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just always like to test myself against like the toughest of the toughest competition. But yeah, like I admire her a lot. I'm trying to think, like Valentina Shevchenko too, like she's another one like I always watch. I'm like, dang, like you just make your opponents look like garbage. Like, and they're not garbage, but like you're just so like technically sound. Like you make these people and athletic, you guys, both of them make their opponents just look like like they ain't shit. So it'd be nice, to fight either one of them.
So you left Team Alpha Male. You say you were there for a little bit. How did you get to the Nick Diaz Academy?
So like I had cross-trained there before. Like I had a sparring partner that was there, and I would go before Team Alpha Male. I would go there and train with her. And I was considering Nick Diaz Academy before Team Alpha Male, but she was like, "Oh, don't go. Like I got injured. Like there's not a lot of people fighting right now." So I was like, "Okay." When the time came, and I was kind of like I wasn't really feeling like the Team Alpha Male gym. That same person was like, "Hey, I'm better. You should come through and train, like get some sparring in with me." I was like, "Okay." So I went and sparred with her, and she was like, "Hey, like you're welcome to come here if you're not happy at your other situation." I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So I took a few days to think about it, and I was like, "All right, I'm going to make the move over." And then I ended up like moving to Stockton and training there. But I think a lot of the guys like weren't really sure. Like, I mean, I knew some of them from before, so there's like some familiar faces. But I think a few of them were like, "I don't think she's gonna last. I think she's gonna quit. I don't think she's gonna hang with us." So there was a little bit of like, there's some tests that went on when I just came in.
So when you go there, is it mandatory to learn the Stockton slap?
No, it is not mandatory, but like you do learn that technique, and there's a lot of technique to that. And like there's a lot of technique to a lot of the stuff that is taught. And like there's a lot of things that in fights now when I watch Nate fight or when I watch Nick, like that I see that I like never had seen before. Like now I have a whole new perspective on their style because of what they taught me and like how they break it down, like that from the clinch to the stand up to the ground. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just so much clearer now, like the things that are going on. And it's a lot more tactical than people understand.
Sure. And
it's just really cool. So it's like I'm really happy with the decision I made to go there because it's not like, like every other gym, here's our combos, here's our line drills. It's like, hey, like this is like more than that. It's like a lot of mental warfare, even like just like the pre-fight going into a fight. It's like, there's a reason you don't shake that person's hand. There's a reason you approach your opponent like this at weigh-ins. There's a reason, there's a reason for every single thing. But at the end of the day, like Nate's a really respectful person and same with the rest of the team. And there's always a handshake at the end of the fight, win or lose. But leading up, it's like, hey, look, it's like real war. Like we're really trying to like kill each other in there in front of our friends and family. So before the fight, like, sorry, we're not friends. Yeah. And a lot of people want to be friends, which is fine. But I do think that that could be dangerous at times if you get comfortable shaking that person's hand, hugging them and giving them a present at weigh-in. So they've definitely taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot on like the fighting side of things because of them.
And I feel like that's a healthy mindset, that it's not disrespectful to not shake their hand, or that person essentially is across the cage trying to take your head off, right? So you know, listen, when it's all over, said and done, you know, you can show the respect. But I mean, I think that's for sure something that, like, especially the Diaz brothers, at what they show.
Yeah. And I can tell there's a lot of people in the sport that do it for a reason, like the friendly game. They want you to get comfortable, you know, and like kind of catch you in this web of like, oh, we're friends. Hey, like, here's a lay at weigh-ins. Here's flout. I'm like,
yeah,
I see what you're doing. Like, you're trying to get that person to let their guard down with you so that you could go try to fuck them up tomorrow, you know? And like, me, it's like I've had a different range of opponents, like in jiu-jitsu and in MMA. Like, I've had girls like want to talk to me in the bullpen when we go to compete at jiu-jitsu. I've had girls that, like, you know, get in my face. Like, before I moved to Stockton, I was doing kickboxing. Like, I had a girl yell 209 Stockton motherfucker in my face. So I was like, all right, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. You know what I mean? Like, I've had different stuff happen. You know, I've had girls like internet bully me and before fights that they weren't even my opponent, but like I'm fighting the next day and there's like a girl that I had previously fought, like sending me clips or sending me messages and her family's harassing me. Like, so I've had like all sorts of stuff. So like nothing like to me like is really shocking anymore. So I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, I do, like, you know, like I said, I respect every opponent, but at the same time, like, there's a competitive edge there that you need to have. And like, there's an understanding, like, this isn't even a person right now. This is just a challenge. I'm going to take you out. And then after the next, like, you know, next day or that same night or whatever, I'm like, win or lose, like, shake their hand. Like, you got to give them respect, you know, because they put in, you know, so, and sometimes like the hardest pill to swallow is just understanding you didn't deserve to win. And like, I've had to like be mature and like come to terms with certain things where it's like, you know, as much as I want to win, there's a difference between wanting and deserving things. And like, you have to differentiate, like, you know, the black belt I just competed against the EBI, like, did I want to beat her? Do I think I have the ability to, you know? Yes. Like, did I deserve to, did I do everything completely 100% correctly to get the win like that night? No, like I just didn't. Like, so it's just kind of like, you just have to kind of wear that shit sometimes, and it sucks, but I think that's just something that's like character building in itself too, just like, you know, martial arts is in general. So,
well, that's a good outlook. That's a very good outlook, because that will definitely make you a better fighter and a better person to look at life that way, I believe.
Yeah. And I think that's great longevity. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people, like, they're going to get their 10-0 record and they're like, all right, this is cool. You know, or like, you know, like kind of what happened to Ronda is like, you know, she was excelling. She had like one loss and she's like, all right, fuck this. And then she came back and then had another loss. She's like, okay, really fuck this stuff. I just got that shit out of the way in the beginning. So I'm kind of like, well, you know, there's nowhere to go from here but up. Don't chew on my bunny's chewing on my jacket.
Leo, what are you doing?
Leo. Getting comfortable. I'm trying to eat my clothes now.
But I feel like, you know, obviously a lifelong MMA fan, what I've seen out of like Nick and Nate Diaz is like that mental toughness. And that's like something that's like, it's almost like you can't even teach it. Like, you have it or like you don't. And those guys have it in spades. And it sounds like, to me, like that's your mentality. Like, you don't give a shit who you're fighting, when you're fighting. If you're injured, you're still going to fight. Like, that's,
Guy or girl.
Yeah, guy, girl. Yeah. That really says something.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I mean, like, and even with, this is another thing I learned from Nate was like, even when he lost, he didn't lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, his fight was a bullshit stoppage, the last one against Masvidal, you know, he was just getting started. And so when he posed, he's like, I'm undefeated, I won. But when he went against Conor, he's like, I'm 2-0. Like, what are you guys talking about? I lost. And I feel like that with my own pro career. Like, and that's why people don't step up to fight me more. Because if I was genuinely 0-2, I'd have way more fights by now, you know? Sure. So I'm like, I'm 2-0. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I mean, I know what my paper says, but I don't think I was losing to Vita. I definitely don't think I lost to the last girl either at all. I think like Sherdog and a bunch of people shared their live scoring of it, and they're like, what? And even Jimmy Smith was like, what the F happened? Like, he even said it on like the live air. He was like, I don't understand what just happened here. So, and shit happens, like, you know, like I can do things to better myself and like not allow those things to happen again, and like, you know, do better in general. But in reality, it's like, don't let those things like actually defeat you. Like, and for real, like, just kind of like whatever, I'm 2-0, I'm confident, I know I'm badass, I know I'm going to be a badass fighter. Like, I'm just going to keep going with it no matter what.
Well, listen, I mean, Archie and I share the same opinion on those two fights, not being little fanboys of you, but you didn't lose those fights. I totally agree with you. So we're excited to see what the future holds for you, and, whether it be, like you said, I mean, MMA, I know you're being offered bare knuckle fighting. I feel like with an 0-2, you're the 0-2 record that nobody wants to fight.
Yeah. And that's okay, because I think eventually, like, when the time comes and like the right promotion, like the right time will come. And I think everything happens for a reason. So right now I'm just like developing like my jiu-jitsu game. I'm refining like, other things like my striking things. And like, it's nice, like when you can actually take the time and like clear your mind and like get other life stuff in order. It's like, okay, now when it's time to fight, I'm 100% ready, not just in terms of like my physical preparation, but like mental preparation, maturity, fight IQ. Like there's a lot of things that go into a fight outside of just the training. I think like I'm feeling like positive about it. And I'm happy like with me, like just in general, getting to compete in jiu-jitsu. That's always like, that's gonna be my first like martial arts love. So sure. I'll never stop doing that. Ultimately, like I'm a martial artist. I'm not just a fighter. So I like to do like the pure, like, gi jiu-jitsu training and all that. So I'm excited. And no matter what happens, like, I know, like, I'm not going to stop. Like, I don't see like an end anywhere near because I'm crazy. So I'm excited too. Like, if the, shelter in place ends tomorrow, if it ends like in 6 months from now, whatever, hopefully that does not happen. Don't want that to happen. But like, whatever happens, like, I'm going to just stay positive and stay ready and like, get my shit together, really.
Well, the one thing that I took from this interview, a lot of things, but the one thing is that I wouldn't fuck with you. I mean, that's number one. But you seem like very, very true to yourself, and you're no bullshit type of woman and fighter. So we're very excited to see what comes out of your career next.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. You're obviously fearless. You have a great outlook on life and fighting and, why you do it and, what you do it for. Tell the people where they can find you on social media. Okay, so Instagram is BMAYO1313, BMayo1313 on Instagram, and then Facebook is Brooke the Bully Mayo. I don't really Twitter that often, and I don't Snapchat, so I'm not gonna plug any of those. And then follow my gym, Nick Diaz Academy, and also follow my coach Randy Spence, trying to get him to 10K followers. So yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Well, listen, it's been our pleasure. There's Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny.
Lenny doesn't know what's going on right now, I don't think.
He's like, whoa.
He's like, what?
Big eyes. He's got big eyes.
Lenny's on a green screen right now. He doesn't even know it. You all right, buddy?
He looks very nervous.
Yeah. Okay,
I love the bully face, like the.
So yeah, this is my Lenny right here.
He's hecka cute. I love all bullies. They're so cute.
Well, listen, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing what the future has for you. Brooke, the Bully Mayo. Appreciate it. Stay well.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And then, let me know how I can share. Let me know who to tag. I'll post about it.
You got it.
Thank you guys.
We'll reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. You too. Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's Brooke the Bully Mayo. Thanks for putting us on to some good day chocolates. Rocco and I cannot wait to see her fight her next fight. Yo, she's dope. She's got a great attitude, and she seems like she's a hard worker. Check her out on Instagram at bmayo1313. With that being said, Rocco, is there anything, my man, anything you want to say to the people?
If you think we give a fuck about your political views, then you're a schmuck. So you can go fuck a duck because you're shit out of luck. and you're listening to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
We out.